Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creator Series with Morning Gloryville. My name is Roxy. I'm a community leader at Morning Gloryville. And today I wanted to invite on to the show a beautiful friend and I guess, kind of co-visionary from a beautiful organization called Plight Club. We've got Adam here from Plight Club. Adam, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Adam. Hello, nice to meet everyone. Yeah, I think if it's related to Plight Club, about myself, like Plight Club is a very much a manifestation of my journey with anxiety. I suppose I used to suffer from anxiety pretty badly in bouts of anxiety that were pretty extreme at times, and I realized that I had them for most of my life, but only in the last kind of 5 years did they get pretty bad. And then I was through lots of different things happened, but I ended up talking to a coach, and she helped me see that what anxiety, there's an emotion underneath that, and sort of different ways to perhaps move my energy from my head to my body. So try lots of different experiments, which I do in my day job is business growth, and we do experiments. And so one of those things was, going to Morning Gloryville, dance practices like that, actually. And yoga and 5 rhythms and ecstatic dance and stuff like that. But one of them was talking. Going to a men's group. And so what I noticed in that men's group, and I didn't have words for it at the time, and I didn't know what it was. Now I think I do, is that when all the guys sat around and like initially didn't know each other, it was all a bit, a bit cold, and not in a negative way, just we didn't know each other. But as soon as everyone started talking and really being open and like vulnerable, the energy in the room, I like got skin prickles, and I could feel this charge. I don't know what, at the time I was like, I have no idea what that is, but the world needs more of it. And so that's when I had this idea for something. And then the name Plight Club came actually when I was going past one of those flight clubs, the darts places in London. So I just kind of thought, I already admired how they'd taken this old man's kind of sport, or it's considered that, or the perception of it, and made it kind of commercially viable and cool. And so obviously there's a link to the movie Fight Club as well. So, but then when I said to myself, oh, the first rule is that you do talk about it, I was just like, it was kind of, match made in heaven. And it was the light bulb moment. And then from there, that's where we are.
Wow, that's great. I love the fact that you're speaking openly about, your own journey with anxiety. And I guess I wanted to sort of ask you a little bit about, when you started this movement, Plight Club, what exactly like drove you? What was your motivation? What was it that you wanted to achieve, and what was it that you wanted to bring into the world?
Um, I, it was kind of I wanted other people, or to give, whether you call it a gift, or to just help people facilitate the journey that I'd gone on myself. Like I learned a lot, and like I call it like a toolbox of stuff that you can do. And I just wanted the change in me from these moments of the anxiety. Like the last one was in January 2019, and it was like 3 weeks of sleeping very little a night, and I lost a stone in weight. I turned grey. It was really horrible time. And I know other people are like that, like, and perhaps worse as well. Like, I'm not, and so there's lots of people, and also there's stages where people are like just day to day. There's like little things that they, would bring a huge amount of joy if they could move through their anxiety. And so I wanted for others to experience the same thing, and that was the driver behind it. And then from a like almost from my own practice as well, and this is going into the creative practice, but also one of the things that I noticed about myself is that, like, I'm a fixer, a problem solver. I do, like, that was my thing. Like if there's a problem, I'll fix it, and I can do that. But there are some problems that isn't the masculine. Now I would say the masculine energy of drive, of doing and stuff, is not the right tool for the job. sometimes you need to, or more often need the feminine energy space where you can just let things be and let things flow. And so these are the language that I started to notice. And then and with the the energies that are involved, I can, that's what I felt when I was in the Plight Club, in the meeting initially. And essentially the driver for it is that connection, when two people are more open and vulnerable, is what is, which will bring bring the world and make it a better place and a more loving place and a more secure place. And we aren't, let's be honest, I don't think the human race is exactly doing a good job at this point in time of what we're, of being kind and beautiful to everyone. Lots of people are as well, don't get me wrong, but as a collective, it's like the planet isn't, very well at this point in time, and communication and doing proper communication, real communication and connection will help with that. So that's part of the driver behind it.
Wow, yeah, that's really beautiful motivation, I guess, to launch this mission and to bring it to the world. I'm also curious, what do you do part of Plight Club? So if somebody was to get involved in Plight Club, what would they get invitations for? What would they be invited to explore or experiment or try out?
Yeah. Well, it all starts with the clothes, which is connection clothing. So the idea behind the clothes, which is called connection clothing, is to create a connection community. And so, and my help with one of the strap lines, or one of the terms that I use, is the connection builds community, which it obviously does. And so by the nature of wearing these clothes, what I noticed when I first started out, the way the Plight Club started, I just created one t-shirt and I wore it and I saw how I felt and did it. But what it does is, because you're essentially wearing your vulnerability or something on your chest, it encourages you in the moment to be braver. Because you feel a bit, if you're wearing it on your chest and you don't do the thing that you're perhaps scared of or whatever, you feel a bit of a fraud kind of thing. And it's like, it's a weird psychology. I call them micro anxieties. And so the example of one of those things would be like, if you're in a lift, just saying hello to the person next to you. You know what I mean? Like, often we just stay silent, don't we? But if you just say, hey, or nice shoes, or nice jacket, or just, just to start a conversation, what I noticed when I did that was that I just got a little buzz, a little kind of, it was only a micro feeling. And it's like, and what you'll get out of it is noticing those things. And so when you don't do it, it doesn't really matter whether you do or don't say hello to that person in the lift. But when you do, and you feel the fear and do it anyway, you get that connection and that buzz and that energetic movement. And that's what the main thing you'll get more of, is witnessing that. But and witnessing that, and then moving through it. And that is the starting point for enabling a person to manage their own anxiety and arguably start to flex the muscle or stretch the muscle when it comes to anxiety. I can go into more detail about that, but the other parts to the company, and it will be, there's 3 C's, which are, as I said, connection community, which is the clothing, and the festival, which is happening at the weekend on Sunday. And then there's connection coaching. So you and I have just been chatting about coaching, and that's part of it. So the whole thing of Plight Club is to inspire and enable people to talk about how they feel. So one of the enablers of that is learning the language and the mechanisms that happen in our bodies and things like that. So you'll get access to connection coaching. And then the final part of it is connection consultancy, which is nothing really to do with the person that wears a t-shirt. It's the final part of what I'm calling making real world change. So if you have the connection community, which is societal change on a whole, you've got connection coaching, which is personal change, so an individual person having to change, and then you've got connection consultancy, which is business or economic change. And those 3 things combined is what I believe the world needs to do in order to make real significant steps forward. So what a person, sorry, a long-winded way of saying it, but what a person gets when they join Plight Club is a connection to that mission or that movement, belonging in that way, but also the tools and the voice and to inspire them to sort out their anxieties or whatever it might be, and also enabling them with the tools and the language to be able to do so.
Beautiful. Well, I guess you would say this better than me, but you know, the first rule of Plight Club is that you do talk about it. So tell us a little bit about the clothing. Like, how did you come up with what you wanted to put on these garments? What are some of the examples? I can see you wearing one right now, which is really cool. But what are some of the other ones, and where can we find them?
So how did I like? What this is so from the creative process, there's in a way there's two types of thinking, shall I say. There's design thinking and creative thinking, right? And they both have their place in the process, which is fine. But design thinking is quite linear. There's stages of it. So research, essentially ideas, test, learn, that kind of thing. And it is kind of driven, which is great in business change and things. It works very well. But when you're doing if you're an artist, that's not how creativity doesn't work. Creativity is like all over the place. It's like, you know, it's very much feminine energy focused or driven, and you just kind of got to let things happen. And when inspiration strikes, you do it, and there's no set path to where inspiration comes from. It just happens when it happens, and if it happens to be in the middle of the night and you can feel it, and you just go for it. And that's what, if you anyone that's been around an artist or that is incredibly passionate, and that they're just incredibly inspiring people to be around because they like that way. And so as one of my practices for anxiety, it was trying to do less be less masculine energy driven, so less structure. So what I tried to do with Plight Club, unfortunately, one of the plus sides for me with regards to lockdown is that I could take voluntary COVID. I took voluntary COVID. No, I didn't. I took voluntary furlough, and so it enabled me a 6-month window where I could just really pause and stop for a bit. And so I had this Plight Club in the background, but I let it I was practicing and letting things bubble up and let it evolve. And so with regards to the shirts, the first one I had said Plight Club on it. And that's the one I did the testing with. But then I thought about the word vulnerable. So that is this one. So this t-shirt is the kind of the main t-shirt, because this summarizes the brand, everything about the brand in one word, which is rebelling against your vulnerability, or not against, rebelling through your vulnerability. And so vulnerable is that one. But then over the course of the journey with it in that 6 months as well, someone said to me, oh, well, flawed, that would make a good t-shirt. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that would actually. And so I went with that. But then the other one, so there's flawed, there's vulnerable, flawed, and there's one that says fearless. So obviously the word fearless, but fearless. And so that, again, that really resonates with the brand, and the whole idea is that you're standing up, and one of the bravest things we can do is speak from the heart and put ourselves out there. So there's this whole connection with vulnerability that it's like, and still sadly, is that it's a weakness, and it's not. It's just literally the bravest thing anyone can do. And so I'm trying to that's the mission of Plight Club is as well, to reverse change the stigma and reverse the around vulnerability. So there's that one, and then there's the heart symbol, which is because the feedback I picked up on was some people just don't want to wear a slogan t-shirt, which I totally appreciate. 100%. It's like, I get that, and I was one of those people. So the idea there is the heart symbol, which is actually based on this. I've got a tattoo on my hand, which, for the record, the tattoo came first, and then it was the symbol on the it wasn't because of it wasn't the other way around. It's just I had in Thailand, when I had a very, very big spiritual experience, and I recorded it on my hand. And this means create your own reality with your heart as your guide. So the whole idea, if that symbol on the shirt, is that people see the symbol, and the whole idea of the connection clothing is that someone sees the clothes and goes, if they go, oh, I like your shirt, oh, that's an interesting net. And as soon as they say that, then you explain, because they often ask, where'd you get it from? And you would say Plight Club, and then they'll ask, what's Plight Club? and then you say it's what it is. It's about feeling. You're talking about feelings and vulnerability, and the next conversation you have is deeper than normal.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Definitely. Like that that piece of clothing actually starts something so much more bigger and deeper, and there's no more like sort of hiding behind masks anymore, because you've kind of owned it and you've taken responsibility, and then
Mm.
you can't really be like over the like surface, or like, you know what I mean, like you can't be that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, you literally put it on your chest. So it's kind of in two ways. People can obviously ask you, and then the other way is that because you're wearing it there, you feel more inspired to be that way, to live what you're putting on your chest. But it's funny you should say that about the masks, actually, and because I forgot, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. I'm wanting to work with artists as much as possible, and the first collaboration I did was with a girl called Anissa, and she created a mask. Like there's a t-shirt with masks, literally that, and it's literally different expressions of feelings in the mask. So that's what, and the literally, and one that dropped yesterday is with a girl called Jasmine, and she's also done it's like a line drawing. It's very Picasso based. It looks kind of Picasso. It's two heads, and the mouth of the one is connected to the ear of the other. And so they're limited edition t-shirts which are available, and then in the near future we're going to be doing working with a girl called Sean, who's styled by Sean, and she's works with color a lot. So it's because the brand of Plight Club is very much black and white, but with her we're going to investigate into how do different colors make you feel and expressive and that kind of thing. So her top is just a plain blue jumper with the heart symbol in the middle, which is, when they come back in stock, will be released in February.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I'm going to be watching that because I'd like to get one for my partner. So
Great.
it's cool. So I, I also wanted to ask you a little bit about your personal journey as well, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, someone who started a movement, someone who started a mission. You've created this, and I guess, what were some of the challenges perhaps you have experienced and are obviously will be continuing to experience challenges as well, as with any kind of movement, mission, entrepreneurial adventure, challenges are like happening all the time. And I guess, what are some of the ways that you kind of keep going and keep staying resilient, or perhaps what are some of the rituals or some of the practices that you perhaps
Mm.
are taking care of yourself? Share with us.
Well, there's a lot I can answer on that question, but I'll start with, first of all, I don't think anyone's used the word visionary with regards to me yet, and I'm quite flattered by that word. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, my ego just went, oh, that feels quite nice. So yeah, fair play. Thank you for that. But there's two parts to that. So I'll start, if I do the entrepreneurial bit first, which is kind of like very much my day job is working as like for the last 5 years I've been a bit of business creative problem solver, business growth consultant, innovation consultant, whichever phrase you want to use. But prior to that, I did various different jobs. I started my own company a couple of times. I say it sounds quite grand, but it was very, very small scale. And I worked in many different industries and that kind of thing. And I learned on the job, essentially, a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. So one of the things that I made sure with Plight Club is there's a method of creation or innovation called lean, which is, and so lean meaning, it's like meat, essentially, just trim the fat. So the things you only grow when you need to grow, do what's called minimal viable products, and going through, and I literally been living and breathing that method for about 5 years. And so like as an example, when I started Plight Club, it was, and having learned from previous thing, I think rather than buying a load of t-shirts and then having them printed and then having given out, I knew I didn't have time for that. So and so they're fulfilled in a slightly different way, and so that's why they take about a week to deliver. but that means, and it's better for the environment, it's, you know, more sustainable, it's better for my time, keeps my sanity. And so that, yes, and the only drawback to it is it's kind of slow fashion as opposed to fast fashion, but I'm very much don't agree with fast fashion anyway, so win. But what I was trying to say from an entrepreneurial point of view is keep it as cost effective as possible. Like that is like almost the number one thing. No, actually, that's not the number one thing. The number one thing is it being driven by customers and insight and that kind of thing. Number two would be keep it lean, especially when you're starting out on yourself and it's a side hustle. So, you know, at the moment, so that's where that thing. So invest as much as you can and test the thing that's in front of you. So I've actually written, if you go on the Plight Club blog, there's it's how I started a business from a bus, because I started Plight Club on my phone on my commute going in to and from work. And so to illustrate that example, the way I started it was I got one t-shirt and tested whether people would ask me about it, and 2 people did. I was like, okay, that's enough of a to give me a little bit more confidence. So I was like, okay. So then I made some badges and say, would people wear the logo? And the badges, that everyone was like, yeah, for sure. Like, and they I bought 200 badges and they were gone within a week. And I was like, cool. So that's another, and those 2 things cost me £30 in total. So that's all I'd spent at that point. And and so then I built a website. It's like, would anyone actually buy a t-shirt? And then, so that website on Squarespace. And so someone did, and then it eventually got to a point where I was like, okay, so that's enough of confidence so from an entrepreneurial journey, that's the thing that I would certainly recommend the most. And you take the stages from that document and go from there. And there's also other ones on there actually, just to help anyone out who is an entrepreneur, is that there's one that says how to get time back and grow your business. There's some stages there with regards to getting to know your customer, work out what you're actually selling is very, very important, and things like that. And then the other practice was the other question rather was my personal practices. All right. Yeah. So this is something that the balance of energies is something that fascinates me. Like, we're both in the conscious community, and we're quite, you know, in that I wouldn't have said 2 years ago that I'm basically, I mean this in a very complimentary way, a massive hippie. But I am, like, I really, really am. And it's like I'm spiritual and that kind of thing. So, but the way the universe works, and this is partly to do with what happened when I was in Thailand last year, you know, there's a lot of understanding that came from that, and that I can wax lyrical about it. But if anyone's a naysayer of spirituality, it's like, well, if you want to learn about quantum physics, they're very, very similar. So like, they read up, because they both go hand in hand. And so one of my major practices is always kind of asking myself the question of which energy type is most present. Am I feeling tense, stressed, and too much like confined? Is that so too much masculine energy? Or am I feeling a bit kind of, whoa, there's a lot going on and there's so many options, so maybe more feminine energy focused? So there's things that you can do to bring balance. And so, as an example, if you're feeling too like the term people use is stressed, and I think that stress and anxiety, the terms they're not really anything. There's always something underneath those. But stressed is often used when you've got too much stuff and you're fixed and you have to do these things. And anxiety is like you've got too many options and you could do anything. In that way. So when you're feeling one of those 2 things, if you're feeling, let's go on, stressed, if you were to do something that is creative, like, or if you lived in a city where which is very much masculine energy focused, you go into the walk in the countryside and go and which is more feminine energy based, you'll feel yourself shift. You'll feel like you'll go into much more of a calmer state, simply because of those things and balancing out the energies. So that's one of the main things. But in order to be able to witness or observe where you are at, meditation is 100% like a daily practice. Actually, I realized I didn't do it today, but it's one of those things that if I haven't done it for a few days, I'm kind of like, I feel like a bit ajar, and I'm like, what's going on? And so that's definitely one thing. And then dancing is a huge part of the being able to shift energies. Like, if I'm very much in my head, embodying the energy. And so, and not from it, you know, that's where I think the magic of Morning Gloryville comes in is that, and how it works with vulnerability as well, is why I love it so much, is that when you're I've been out and I've had, let's say I've had most dance experiences you can enabled in other ways, so let's leave it at that. And so when I came to Morning Gloryville for the first time, I love dancing, but the fact dancing without any stimulants is the best way to dance. It is so much better than dancing with, because you really, I've got skin prickle, like I've literally got goosebumps. Wicked. But it's like that energy that you'll feel there and you do it. It works so well with Plight Club. It's unbelievable, because like say at Morning Gloryville, lots of people like to jump on the stage, or like, but because you don't have the numbing effect of alcohol, you feel the energy way more. But when you go through and you encourage, and there's I think the Vibe Tribe, is that right, like encouraging people to kind of dance or get on stage or do whatever, just live that, because that thing, and when you're like, everyone's like clapping you when you're on stage, and it's just like, it's such an amazing feeling. But it's letting that energy flow, like, and that's what it is. And the thing that causes the pain or the anxiety or however is resistance to letting that energy flow, which I would say and being frank, is that's fear, and the thing that's trying to flow is love or energy or whatever you want. Like, so the whole idea is another practice that I do is, I ask myself that question, am I acting from a place of love or fear? And I mean love or fear for, like, am I acting from a place of love for myself, or is it a fearful thing, or is it the other way around for other people? Am I like being scared, like, am I acting from a place of love for them, or is it from fear of them? That kind of thing. So as the thing, like, what would they think, is the classic thing, is like, if you're wearing, you're going to put a shirt on or something, and that pop goes into your thing, goes into your brain, and you go, what would they think? And it's like, who the fuck are they? Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on it. And that B, that's the thing that I used to do a lot, like massively overthink. Is like, who gives a shit? But no one gives a shit, and it's like, it's such an ego thing. No one really gives a shit about other people in that way. They see someone and go, oh yeah, they're looking great, or what. And it's just, even if they look at you and go, whoa, what are you wearing, dude? It's such a fleeting thought that it's like, it doesn't matter. No one like, but yet you would think about it. So it's that whole thing of moving through that energy. And so in that context, it would be, all right, I'm fearful of what they think, and I'm not acting from a point of love for myself. So the thing that I love doing is being a bit kind of, I call it front man syndrome. Like, it's kind of just being a bit flamboyant and a bit like, admittedly I'm wearing black right now, so it doesn't look particularly flamboyant. But when you go to Morning Gloryville, the whole thing of dressing up and doing makeup and all that kind of stuff, I love it. But there was definitely, if I went back 5 years, what would they think? What would people think of me wearing makeup? And it's like, now I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But like, then I perhaps wouldn't have done it, because, and that would have suppressed the energy involved in that, and it didn't let it flow. So I wouldn't be my authentic self, which is where anxiety would start to creep in. Sorry, that was a really long answer, but anyway, I start to.
No, I asked too many things in one. So you didn't have a choice, but it's very insightful. And it actually gave me an idea. Like, I think when, fingers crossed, we do have in-person events back again, we need to have a Plight Club station at Morning Gloryville. Like,
How's yeah.
It really just clicks right now, because Vibe Tribe, as you said, and also the immersive theatrics, because having a theme and having like a the theme which inspires people to dress up and put on costumes and wear biodegradable glitter and stuff like that. It's really a like essential part of Morning Gloryville. And the whole purpose mission of Vibe Tribe is to like help people to just like let go of this fear and just forget, like get out of their heads and like get into their bodies and just welcome that childlike energy. And we also tried one more thing, which was, we called it the holistic sanctuary, which I don't really know like if that was the best right name for it, but we had sort of like wellness practitioners who were prescribing, like you would go to them and you would be like, I'm feeling like this, and then they would say to you, I prescribe to you to go and hug a stranger, or I prescribe to you to, like, somebody would say, I don't feel confident or something like that, you know. And they would get prescribed to go and dance on the stage, like on the speakers, you know.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is like the person who prescribed is done with their shift, and they go on the dance floor, they're raving, they're dancing, and then the next thing is they see the person dancing on the speakers, the one that they prescribed the
Oh,
medicine.
amazing. That's beautiful.
But it just kind of gave me the idea we need like a Plight Club station, you know. And yeah, we should have the t-shirts. You know, we
Yeah,
should.
for sure. Yeah, that actually is a kind of good time to say, like, on the, excuse me, it's a good illustration of something that I've distilled a lot of information into a small thing, so I'll say it now. But the thing that Plight Club is founded on, Plight Club and Connection, the whole community, the festival, everything about Connection is the vulnerability catch ring. So if you go on the Plight, there's those that are listening, if you go on the Plight Club site and go to how it works, it says in there, so it will summarize what it will reiterate what I'm about to say. But the vulnerability catch ring, I believe, is an answer, not the answer, but is certainly for a lot of change in the world. Which it sounds like a very grand statement, but when I explain it, it's quite simple. So the vulnerability catch ring goes like this. Initially, it works in two ways. The first way is we have a vulnerability catch ring within our own body, like head and body. Like a lot of people refer to their head and their body, and it's like the same thing. Like it's a head body. It's not separate. Obviously, it's connected by a neck. And so what the first vulnerability catch ring is that we need to relearn to trust our bodies and trust our instincts. And so what I've found that with anxiety, particularly like that, is it's having a distrust and overthinking my bodily reactions and instincts. So when I'm vulnerable, and it's always feeling first and then thought. And people are like, hang on a minute, no, that's not true. But it is actually when you're a kid, I'm talking about. So anxiety often is from a point where you might have had a trauma of some sort when you were in your early days, and then that has been compounded through your life over the course of. So you have this feeling, and you don't know where that came from, and then the thoughts connected to it. I'm scared. It's like, oh, don't know how to express it because I'm very small. I've got this emotion going on, and so but there's no one here because I've been maybe abandoned, or my mum's turned away, or my dad's turned away, or whatever. So sure. And so that creates this reaction in your body. So when you're in the future, when you have a thought, you re-trigger the feeling in your body, and it just gets worse and worse and worse as you go through your life. So the idea, and through the connection coaching, and obviously through the connection community, is to enable people to witness this mechanism happening in their body. And so once you can witness that mechanism on a small scale, you start to move things from your subconscious to your conscious. And so if your behavior is being affected by your subconscious, obviously you don't know anything about it because it's your subconscious. But as soon as you become aware of it, you go, oh. And so the term that you often gets used is I've been triggered. It's quite a common term. And so I've been triggered by it. But that means you can then express what's going on from you from an emotional point of view more. Sorry, hang on, my phone's ringing. And then you can express what's going on for you. And by the nature of expressing, that also moves the energy from physical in your body to sound energy. It converts the energy. So it's less compression of the energy. So that's the first vulnerability catch mechanism that we need to become aware of. But the more we as humans do that, the more confidence grows, and we start to trust our instincts more, and we start to express ourselves better and become more authentic. But by the nature of doing that, we would get more confident. Great, in who we are. And so what that enables is to create a vulnerability catch ring between two humans. So when I'm vulnerable, I say something and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really a bit nervous about this with you, and then you catch me and go, it's all right. That creates a connection between you and I. And so once you imagine that starts to happen, and then you do it with someone else, they do it with someone else, and it just expands. And it all starts from witnessing the mechanism within our own bodies. And that, I believe, is the start to real world change. Wow, that sounds like a soapbox moment, but boom.
Boom, mic drop. I love that. That is that actually totally makes sense to me. It makes sense to me from my personal process. Like, you're right. I mean, we all probably forget because I guess maybe the first few times it happened, it was so long time ago, like in our childhood, and we obviously attached perhaps those like experiences to certain things, and then when those things happen again, we're like, I'm getting triggered, this is happening, I feel now anxious, I feel stressed. So yeah, it's so, it makes a lot of sense to me.
But, but
um,
my but my like, just to illustrate that point, my two things in that caused my anxiety were were very much control and fear of abandonment, which are a common thing. Like when I've been talking to people, and not coaching people, I just mean general talking to people, that those two things come up a lot, but they are based on primal. They're very much primal thing, and it got nothing to do with that. Like way back when, like when we were tribes people, thousands of years ago, two things that would cause us, a fear of death, like that we're likely to die from, would be not knowing where our next meal comes, like that control of that, and then also abandonment from our tribe. If you're left by yourself, you would likely die. And so what we've, and so that it's a real primal, it's very critical to say it isn't going anywhere, and it never is going anywhere. A lot of people think that there's a way to cure anxiety and do all these things. It's like, it's the feeling, you can change your perception of it, but it's not the action that's happening. We're animals, so it's always going to be there. But and I'm a living proof of it, to change it from something that I was super fearful of anxiety, so I kickboxed all the time to like kind of manage my emotion or manage the energy in my body, the tense and all that stuff. But now whenever I feel anxious, I'm like, oh, that's a signal for growth. Like, what is that? And I actually seek out anxious situations that make me anxious now. Which, if you think about that, if I can enable, like if Plight Club can enable that shit, if it happened in me, then surely it can happen for other people. And by the tools in the toolbox that I said I created, and I think I have a mechanism to be able to coach people, to be able to do that, and they end up, a person becomes, the goal of it is to become self-reliant so that they can do it for themselves. And it's very much the main focal point of it, I suppose, is this vulnerability catch ring. Because if you can witness that, then it's a massive game changer for me. It's huge. Should I turn the light on? Is it getting dark?
um it is getting a bit dark. If you want to turn the light on, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go and turn the light on. One sec, hang on.
Okay. Mhm.
You can edit this part out.
That totally makes sense to me. I see what you're talking about there, because yeah, I mean, once you move things from your subconscious into your conscious, and once you start actually catching yourself, then that's when you are able to notice it quicker next time, notice it in the moment next time. And like you said, obviously the feeling is not going anywhere. That is always going to be happening, just like the challenges of entrepreneurship as well. But you can create your own mechanisms to adjust your reaction, and you can obviously create a much better outlook for yourself, like that tattoo, like it's like you can create your own reality by being guided by your heart. And
Exactly.
totally, it is moving from your head into your heart, and allowing your heart to guide you. And am I doing this from love, or am I doing this from fear? Always choose the path of love, and you will have a great life.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what that I realized, and through this, particularly through my journey of the last year, but I'd say 2-3 years, my spiritual journey, I suppose, started about 7 years ago, or maybe, well, probably started from when I was born. But anyway, but that is, yeah, in a nutshell, what you've just said is exactly what Plight Club, like by wearing Plight Club or being involved in the club, however you want to be involved, is exactly what you and then stand for. It's like, and so, and I see it, it's like, I want to be known for a person that is loving and gives out love and is there for people and all that kind of stuff, and rather than thinking that I live in a coming from a point of fear, because fear, obviously a lot of people act in very interesting ways when they're coming from a point of fear, and a lot of that stuff, that fear, is complete, as we just talked about, so is a lot subconscious. So if we can make people conscious of things that are happening within them, it's not their fault and there's no judgment at all. It's just, and I had them and everyone has them, and some people have them to a more of extreme than other people. But that's where I think, if we want to step up, and and that's when you referred to it as the Plight Club as a movement, which is, it is. And like but I referred to it as a movement in my head a while ago, but it's like, not other people haven't yet. And it's like, but a movement starts with one step from a lot of people, basically. And it's like, the more people that wear t-shirt Plight, not just Plight Club. I mean, there's other brands, of course, and there's loads of other people doing really amazing work. So, but what I'm saying is just like, if there's an opportunity to be slightly different and check, and do something that is better for the world, then do it. But this is, and that's the step that I'm trying to live and breathe and encourage. But and this illustrates the point of the 3 C's coming together. So if I've got time, to illustrate me when I'm hungry is illustrates a point. So if I'm like, try to be as sustainable as possible, and so I will I think that why can't the governments just go, right, in 6 months time, single-use plastics gone, banned, can't use them? Why not? Like, we could do that, we have the power to do that. But anyway, so as an example, when it comes to buying a sandwich, or when I'm hungry, like I could walk in past the supermarket and I'm like, okay, I'm hungry and I should not buy this because it's in single-use plastic, but I'm hungry, and my animal instincts is like, I need to alleviate that hunger, and I'm in that context, I'm a bit weak. It's like, oh, okay, I'll use that because it's there and it's accessible. And so the point of the Connection Consultancy is to help businesses with coaching and with regards to mental health and sustainability, so that those sandwiches aren't put in there in the first place. Like, we are humans and we are animals, and that's how we are. And I'm not proud the fact that I wish I could, and I perhaps should just go hungry for a bit, but you got to be realistic. And so what the goal is to work with big organizations to show them and help guide them to the point where they don't create the single-use plastics in the first place, and therefore there wouldn't be an option for me then, and I would have to buy that apple, or I know that's there anyway, but or the sandwich is wrapped in a reusable thing or whatever it is, and I have to be a bit more effort, or I have to go to a deli where they create it, whatever it might be. But it just just illustrates that point, I think.
It's a really important shift, and it's not easy work. So and I also agree with you. I think the responsibility always lies with I heard this ages ago in relation to a conversation around domestic violence, actually. But the responsibility, everybody can take responsibility for everything, but somebody told me that the responsibility lies with the one who was more powerful or more
that's a good
stronger, and that like bigger, and that totally makes sense with the example that you gave, where like massive organizations, perhaps in small steps as well for them, but if they could take the steps towards more sustainable packaging, more environmental packaging, then the small consumers could definitely feel don't have to go through that when they're like just buying a sandwich.
But in the same ways, like, so like, it's written on the website, but it's like business and society, they're not actually things. Like, they're all driven, like, business is a group of people working together, and society is a group of people living together. And so anxiety isn't a thing either. It's a thing that's driven by a singular person and their emotions that are going on. So in order to make, as I said, real world change, like, it's getting to the people within the business and working with them holistically to be like, well, why aren't you making these changes? What are you afraid of? Like, and it could be something, again, right down deep in their in their psyche that happened in their childhood, that they feel that they need to have hundreds of millions of pounds, as an example, for their otherwise they don't feel safe. And it's like, what? That's not necessary. You know, people can survive on a hell of a lot less than that, and people can have a very nice life on a hell of a lot less than that. And that isn't the thing that brings you joy and stuff in your life anyway, is the money. It's just having a roof over your head and connecting with people is much more, you know, there's much more in that. But it's how do you work with, how do you convince someone that is in that situation that the right thing to do is the thing that feels like the exact opposite of the right thing to do? And it's like, and that's where the 3Cs, I believe, will come in and can help.
Oh, thank you so much, Adam. It's been such a pleasure to have you. I feel like I'm really looking forward to the coaching session with you for myself. And I am also really looking forward to the Great Connection Festival in 2021 and also the years to come. Well, I'm going to be publishing this today for the audience. So I'll make a little announcement and feel free to add anything that I might forget. We have the Great Connection Festival on Sunday, the 31st of January. And it is a beautiful program of lots of fascinating acts, lots of talent, lots of workshops, talks, conversations, as well as movement practices, music, dancing. There's like so much on the program, and it's all in support of Olly's Future, a suicide prevention and suicide awareness charity, and it's also supported by Zero Suicide Alliance as well. So we as Morning Gloryville are also supporting this amazing festival. So come and join us on Sunday, the 31st of January. Adam, if I forgot anything, please feel free to add.
No, I can summarize. There's like as you said, there's 5 channels, over 40 acts, and it all happens in the space of 4 hours. So for anyone listening that thinks, oh, I don't really want to look at another screen for, you know, you can have it on in the background like a radio, so you don't even need to look at the screen. But the whole point of the festival is to give you the tools and stuff to enable you to connect with yourself and with other people. So that's why all the different subjects and the movement and the music and all those things, the array of across the 5 channels is what you need, is what a person may need, or be able to find something to shift some energy in their body, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really excited. So we've got as well a mini breathwork taster by Jesse Lotte. And we have DJ Matt Finkel, who's a Brooklyn-based New York DJ. We're really excited about that because he's DJing for Morning Gloryville for the first time, and he's got amazing tunes. We also have DJ Live Night, and we also have a panel on community nourishment and what community means, what is the importance of community in our lives, with DJ Kemi Oshi. Also, there's like so many fabulous acts as well, like Bambi Alexander is going to be offering a sound healing journey. Rich Bats is going to be DJing like an ecstatic dance set. So yeah, check it out for sure, and go and get yourself a vulnerable t-shirt, and just keep putting that on your chest, and just open up the conversation.
100%. That's a beautiful way of summarizing it. Yeah, there's nothing for me to add there. Just keep going, peeps.
Thank you, Adam. It was lovely to have you. I can't wait to connect with you more. And thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Bye-bye.